Hello and welcome back to the channel once again. My name is Andy and today we are back with part 11 of the Classic Cars in Motorsport series. We're nearly at the end of the Classic Cars from F1 2017 and today we are looking at the 2008 McLaren Mercedes MP4-23. But before we get on to that, as always with myself, I always like to thank each and every one of you who watches my videos. Each and every one of you has subscribed as well. If you are watching this video and you haven't subscribed already, why not? Please let me know below. But if you haven't and you do wish to, then do hit the subscribe button as well. And if you haven't, also hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any content that I'm putting up over the coming weeks and months ahead. In regards to this video, do hit the like button as well. It does help me out. I do like seeing that also. And leave some comment below as well. What did you remember from this car and this season, the 2008 season? Most people remember the finale to this, of course, and we are going to get on to that shortly as well. But the 2008 McLaren MP4-23. Now, McLaren had just came off the back of an interesting season, to say the least. We touched on it previously in the last video, which was the Ferrari 2007 that took Kimi Räikkönen to championship glory. We touched on the Spygate scandal, as it's called, the espionage, where McLaren engineer had access to intellectual property that belonged to Ferrari. And that's seen the McLaren team excluded from the Constructors' Championship, as well as them having to show their car to the FIA to get clearance before the season started, for fear of it having any of Ferrari's intellectual property a part of it, which it didn't. So that was an interesting change for the team. They also had a driver change as well. So the season before was Hamilton and Alonso. Alonso had gone back to Renault, and taking his place was Renault's Finnish driver Heikki Kovalainen. So they basically swapped places. And the McLaren team also ran the numbers 22 and 23, the last numbers available, unable to take up 3 and 4 for the second place in the Constructors' Championship that they would have had from the season before due to the exclusion. And it was an interesting year as well, 2008. There was no changes to the engine. It had been the first year of the engine freeze. So the main changes were to the car itself. And because of the big changes coming up in 2009, there wasn't a huge amount of changes made in terms of the actual aero itself. So McLaren lowered the nose cone. It retained the zero keel suspension, which was now predominant amongst the grid. The winglets that were above the driver's head on the car the year before were removed. The rear wing was redesigned, and as you'll see when we get into the race part, the front wing had what it called the Dumbo wings on the front. They weren't added until Hungary, and they remained on the car for the rest of the year, except for the Italian GP, where it was removed for the use of cleaner aero. The season itself, very interesting indeed. It was once again it was Ferrari and McLaren fighting at the front for the top positions, predominantly between Massa and Hamilton. Räikkönen up there as well, of course, but unable to challenge as much for the championship in his championship defending season. He wasn't quite on the pace and would finish third in the Drivers' Championship come the season's end. During the season, the battle went on throughout between Hamilton and Felipe Massa, starting right from the beginning in Australia, where McLaren took the win before Ferrari took the next 4 races, with Kimi Räikkönen and Felipe Massa sort of sharing them between them. Monaco would then be Hamilton, and then the first of 2 new winners in the season came up in Canada, which was Robert Kubica in the BMW Sauber. The second one would be at the Italian Grand Prix, where it was Sebastian Vettel who is he, winning for Toro Rosso in a wet, dry weekend for the young new team taking over Minardi just a few seasons back. The only other winner during the year was Fernando Alonso in the Renault, and that was certainly the first one of those at the new Singapore night race. Was not without controversy in future seasons, as that is obviously where Crashgate, I hate when they use gate in anything, it's controversial. That's when obviously that happened, where Nelson Piquet Jr. crashed, instructed by the team on purpose. That helped Alonso, who was taking an early pit stop, to then jump to the front of the queue as everybody else pitted. And he would also win in Japan the following race as well, without as much controversy, thankfully, in that one. Singapore as well, remembered also for where Massa lost a lot of points due to driving off during the pit stop phase when the safety car was out and taking the fuel hose with him. And that cost him a number of points, which would become very important once the teams reached Brazil for the final race of the season. So they came to the final race once again at Interlagos. Hamilton once again came into the race as championship leader, 7 points clear of Massa in second. So Massa had to win, ideally, to have his best chance of winning the championship, and Hamilton would need to finish lower than 5th place for Massa to win. If Massa won and Hamilton finished 6th, it would be tied on points, but Massa would win on a countback due to having more wins as long as he won at Interlagos. Now in the backyard for Massa, being the homeboy in Brazil, he was dominant throughout the weekend. He took pole position, he took fastest lap, he did take the win as well. And that just was a fantastic weekend and would be absolutely ideal for a Brazilian driver under normal circumstances. But this race is remembered for being probably one of the most climactic and exciting races for a season ender in recent years. Started off with a wet start, dried out quickly, and then a late race shower, seen almost everybody come in for at least intermediate tyres before the end of the race. I say almost everybody, because one person who didn't was the Toyota of Timo Glock, and he becomes obviously very important very shortly, as most of you probably already know. Raikkonen pitted, Massa pitted, Hamilton pitted, pretty much everyone else pitted for intermediates in the changing conditions, even with only a few laps to go. And on laps 69 to 71, that man Vettel sneaked past Hamilton and took over 5th place, meaning that Massa was in championship winning position heading into the final laps. And indeed, when Massa crossed the line to win the race, at that point, he was champion because Hamilton had no answer for the Ferrari-powered Toro Rosso with Vettel and was still in 6th. But coming up to the final corner, or the final main corner you could call it, Juncal, the junction at the bottom of the hill, who could Hamilton come across? But it was a slow-moving Timo Glock in the Toyota. And past he went up the hill and crossed the line in 5th place, meaning that in only his 2nd season in the sport, Lewis Hamilton was world champion. And it's obviously now that was the start of what is now his 4 championships that he currently has. And Massa couldn't quite get back to there. We all know what happened the following season at Hungary, where the spring came off the Barrichello's car and hit him on the head. So it was quite unfortunate, but he was very pragmatic in defeat and gained himself a lot of fans in the process from that. So what we're going to do today, as always, is a 5-lap last to first challenge round Interlagos in the McLaren, and we're going to see, as always, what we can do. So here we are on the grid with the 5 lights on. Long hold, but away we go. 5 laps with 20 McLarens on the grid. Coming down to the Senna S at turn 1, as always, launch it up the inside. We've only gained a few places this time, coming up to take 12th on the outside through the curve of the Sol. and down the long back straight towards the next turn. It's a decent start. I love racing at Interlagos, a very flowing track. Curva del Sol, Sena S, you've got the Juncal. Up here at Ferradura, this is a great corner when you get it right. Just drop it down a gear, throw it in, hook the curb, plant it, and then harden the brakes. You make a lot of places up. As you see, 12th to 10th in that corner. The run through Ferradura was what made the difference for us there. Another tight corner, we're a bit late there going up the inside, but we do it cleanly, and we're up to 9th place already. So you can see on the car in front of us, you can see the Dumbo wing at the front of the car. That is added, as I say, from the Hungarian Grand Prix, and the only race it wasn't seen was in Italy, where Downforce is the main player. But the following season seen the cars streamlined, narrowed, higher wings, not as many implementation of aerodynamic devices like you see with the Dumbo wing, the old bullhorns that were on the 2007, and the multiple planes in the front wing as well. They were kind of smoothed out for the following seasons, and then, as we know, have slowly crept themselves back in to the point that the current McLaren now has a 3 pig's nose on it and about triple planes, so something that they're hoping to clear up in future years, possibly from next year as well. But at the moment it's kind of gone back towards this, and aero is once again king, and trying to follow in the dirty air is not as clean as possible to do overtakes. But Interlagos into the corner, just trying to avoid contact there as we get really close. Down the hill, always fun going down there. You can get sideways sometimes if you're not careful. Second gear through Juncal and up the hill. You need a good run out of Juncal to get a good run up the hill and up to the Senna S as always. And that is already on to lap 3 of this 5-lap race. So we're still in the top 10. Looking at a dive down the inside, but think better of it. Down the hill, quick short shift into third. So I get a lot of wheel spin through there. And try and gain down the back straight. Obviously no DRS, no cares, no boosts, no nothing in this kind of car. It's just a V8 2.4 litre Mercedes pumping out around about 800 horsepower or so. And your right foot, they actually banned traction control and stuff like that for this season as well. They had it in some previous years, so it was actually banned from 2008, as we really late just forced our way through there, bullied our way past. We're going to get past on the outside, and the way out just cuts us out. We're going to take the place down here. But yeah, they banned the traction control and stuff like that, the electronic gizmos for this year. Became an independent electronic control unit ECU made by Microsoft and McLaren Electronics. It was. Try to remember the actual name of them. I think it's MCE, McLaren Computer Electronics or something. It was a standard computing unit for this year. It was mandated by the FIA, so there was no traction control or anything hidden by anybody into the systems, and made for much better racing. Going into the final race, Hamilton was a lot of build up in the media. They've seen him as being a bit of a hothead, remembering what happened. It's the previous race in Japan where he dived for the inside in turn 1 and the first lap and got it all wrong, lost a lot of places. Should easily have got the title wrapped up there and then, because he went on to win in China the following race. But he lost quite a few points in Japan to Massa due to that early mistake on the first lap in Fuji. So it's quite a lot of build up, maybe a bit more than was needed by the English media. You know, the British press is always, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that. Just back off is always what I used to think. But he got the job done right here on the final lap at this corner, Juncal. He got past Timo Glock. We can all remember, because it was the final year of ITV coverage for British TV audiences. James Allen, Martin Brundle. The camera switched from Massa celebrating to Hamilton, and all you can hear was James Allen going, "Is that Glock? Is that Glock? It is, it is." And then all you seen was the McLaren mechanics celebrating. Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls celebrating Hamilton's girlfriend at the time. And then the famous part, one of the Ferrari mechanics, when they've realised and been told, no, he's not won, head first into the garage wall. Just a phenomenal shot, just showing the frustration that even the mechanics carry for their drivers as well. Just headbutted the wall in frustration, and the Brazilian crowd went home unhappy despite a Brazilian winning their home race. It really was a phenomenal end to the season. We come down the hill though for the last time. It's going to be P8 for this race, coming up the hill for the last time. But that is going to do it. Next week we have the final part of F1 2017, so part 12 in the Red Bull RB6. That'll be around the Austrian A1 Red Bull Ring. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you once again for watching. As always, hit subscribe, like and everything if you enjoy it, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Ta-ra.